Hello and welcome to the weekly Reframe. This is episode 7 and it was due out on Friday the 4th, so last week. And I said I'm going away. I was going to be in Palma de Mallorca and I did, and I didn't want to have any commitments while I was there. So I'm recording this today and I wanted to talk about commitment, what commitment is and my view of commitment in my experience recently and how it has transformed the way I see and live my life. So reflecting on how I committed to doing this weekly reframe, and when I said to myself, I'm going to do it weekly and live, and I started to do that. But to me, commitment mainly is to me and to myself and to doing the things I know are for my greater good. And I'm in this purpose-led and soul-led business whereby I am serving others. But if I'm not first serving myself and aligned with myself and looking after nurturing myself, I know I won't be able to give a good service. So while I still feel I have to do what I say, which is very rewarding, which is coming on every week, it's not set in stone. I know this is, for me, the way I see it now is a way to playfully go about and try new things, which is something that for some people might be very normalized, but for someone with the level of conditioning, coping mechanisms, for example, perfectionism and people pleasing, this is something that was really hard for me to move away from. That structure, rigidity. So that's why I invite everyone to identify what's in their personal situation, their own constraint, and then work through them. Ideally, I mean, people can do it by themselves. You can only do so much by yourself. And then it's ideal that you start, because we need to see the blind spots and we can't do that by ourselves. So for me, even though I have high self-awareness and I've been doing this work for a long time, it wasn't until very recently that I kind of unlocked another level, because in my self-awareness and in my removing this conditioning, the reason why we need to remove this conditioning is because it keeps us stuck. We are operating from an old programming and we don't know it. And until somebody makes us see, we really keep moving around the same problem, trying to solve it with the same head that created it. I think that's a famous quote. I don't know if it's by Einstein. With the same head that created it. Anyway, so I remember I started becoming more aware of my rigidity and the way my brain kept me safe. And one of those things was having all the structure and having to do everything so perfectly. And especially when I learned something, I need to apply this. And if I don't apply it very strictly, then it's going to be wrong. And if it's wrong, it's going to fail. And then it's that relationship with failure that I had a really bad fear of making mistakes. And because for me, making mistakes meant losing the people that were looking after me, caring for me. You know, most of us work like this on this basis and programming that when we are children, we really, all we need is to be looked after by our carers. So at a certain point, we start developing these coping mechanisms because we don't want to be abandoned, rejected. So we better fit in. And those things serve a purpose for a while, but then they don't anymore. And this is when it becomes really painful and really frustrating. And actually, they can cause disease. This is something I've been talking about in the previous episodes. So I think it was last year when I realized that, and I in my head, I come up with all these visuals and analogies. And I remembered I read once that skyscrapers, they have a degree of flexibility. They are not stiff structures. Yeah. And so that allows for the wind and the earth movement, because if they were so rigid, they would break. So I thought, I think we are like this, or I think at least we should treat ourselves like that. Yes, consistency, discipline, commitment is so good, but you have to know yourself and your brain, your wounds. Everything is so personal that the best thing you can do is not apply other people's prescriptions, but to get to know yourself so much that you know what works for you. And for me, I learned that the hard way. because when I was pregnant I have only one child, and I remember learning how the body works and all the hormones that the women produce in preparation for birth. And before even meeting my partner and having my son, I knew that I wanted to have a natural birth, and because I knew how amazing that all was. When I got pregnant and was so excited about the day I finally had that natural birth and home birth, and because it made sense, and I became a bit of an activist because it made so much sense to me that the women's body were naturally made for birthing babies, and I resonated so much with the science, and that's what I wanted. But I wasn't aware back then, 10 years ago, that I had so many layers of conditioning and ego-based fear, protective fear. So I went into this journey not being aware of those fears. And what happened is that even though I had all this knowledge and all this theory and all this good intention, my head got in the way, and I had 24 hours labor at home with 3 shifts of midwives. And morning before the contraction started, I was 42 weeks in the pregnancy, which is normally 40, that, the average pregnancy. And the reason I wanted this home birth and natural birth, and I didn't want induction, is because I knew it's quite common nowadays in many countries to guide women into having a safe birth and inducing it when the baby is not ready. And I didn't want that. I trusted the biology and the wisdom of the body and the baby and the mom, and I didn't want that. But I went into this journey with subconscious fear. My need for control, I didn't realize. Oh, in the morning of the labor, I went to have a scan, because I had an agreement with a midwife that I was allowed to get to 42 weeks, but I needed to have a check for placenta and amniotic fluid. And I did. My condition was, yeah, okay, you can check as long as you don't give me induction if it's unnecessary. And when I went to the scan, they said, in the morning, they said, placenta beautiful, liquid beautiful, the baby is breech. And breech is when they come bomb down. And I had read about that, but I didn't imagine it was going to be the case. And I panicked a bit, but then I thought, okay, I trust myself that I can do it, because I had read that it's possible. There's a small percentage of babies that are born breech, and historically they are sent for a C-section. And I thought, I can try. There's very few babies that are born breech because they go to the C-section first without even trying. And so I had to use a lot of mindset to recover from the shock. And yeah, I tried. And in the end, after 24 hours and trying different things, it was becoming very painful, because the midwives suggested to try a bladder puncture to make room. And I accepted, and they tried that, and I honestly, it was absolutely painful, and I had not slept for more than 24 hours, getting all these contractions. And in the end, I trusted that if it's not happening like this, I didn't want to force it anymore, because the midwives were leaving. I didn't have any more midwives after 3 shifts of specialized breech midwives, and they said, you have the choice to stay here or go to hospital and continue labor in hospital. And I connected with myself, and I said, maybe don't force it anymore. And my partner drove to hospital. We waited for theater because it was not emergency. He drove, and I was getting all the contractions, being really uncomfortable. And yeah, so I had that C-section, and yeah, cesarean. They say it's not a section, it's a cesarean. And yeah, I think years after, I realized, first of all, it created sort of a traumatic experience because of my expectations, because it was my dream for years and it didn't happen. So, then it's something else to work through that pain, the wound, and it's linked to probably other wounds. But once I realized that my subconscious mind was getting in the way, and that fear was wanting to control everything. And when that happens, we lose really the beauty of the moment, and then it becomes like an objective to control the outcome. And this is where normally it doesn't go as desired. And I'm sharing this so even if it's not your situation at the moment that you're going through a pregnancy or somebody that you can really apply it to everything. Um, I'm helping someone who used to be an ultra marathon runner and he stopped running, but now he's getting back into it after suffering from anxiety and panic attacks. And then the thoughts are intrusive and am I going to be questioned why I'm last? Am I going to be kicked out of certain environments or activities? And now he's going back to the activities. And this is what I guide him through, letting go of the outcome, doing it for the sake of enjoying, and obviously working into what might be getting in the way, the origin of these thoughts. And I shared all this story because it got me thinking, am I not being committed enough to these episodes? And some people have been saying, oh, well done for sticking at it and for still doing them. And many people are reaching out to say how they have been helpful. So yes, I think with a degree of flexibility, you are the only one that knows where you put your attention and this commitment, how much. Because, for example, I'm doing this to help other people and to help myself because I get to practice. I get to talk. At the beginning, I was reading. Now I'm speaking more fluently without a script. And this is really amazing for my own growth. And I know what I'm sharing resonates with people because they let me know. So this is going to be the episode for last week. But now I'm going to record the one for this week coming this Friday, the 11th as well, because I'm going away tomorrow and because an amazing opportunity came up for me for a project that I'm really excited about. And this is something else that this is where we apply our discernment. I'm in transition and growth, and this is a discernment I would like you to apply. Yes, you committed to something, but think what's on your plate as well, or how many plates you're spinning at the moment. Yeah, is it a big deal for me if I didn't go live anymore? Maybe temporarily. Maybe I'll go back to it once everything is a little bit more settled. No, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal because my commitment is I will deliver this weekly. Doesn't matter how, as long as I do it for myself. The next one that I'm going to record, I've been trying to record all week and I've been getting more information about this case. It wasn't anonymous. It's all explained why I couldn't do it before. I needed to know more information. And then the internet stops working. And it's all these signs, one might get frustrated. Oh, no, the internet doesn't work. That's yesterday morning. I went to meet my friend, my beautiful friend, Precious, my accountability partner. I went to meet her for lunch. And I said, I'm going to record this upstairs. And the Wi-Fi wasn't getting to that place. And I would have been frustrated about it. But yesterday I thought, let it be. If it's not meant to be now, it must be for some reason. And then this morning, I got a reply from this person that sent the question. And she opened up and shared a lot on WhatsApp, a lot of things. Just by one question I asked her, everything came out this morning. And so it was beautiful to understand why it didn't happen because I needed all this information really to understand. It's really now the original question is very irrelevant to the whole picture. So I'm going to record that in a minute. I don't know if this one should have been the introduction to the next one, but let's leave it like this. And the last thing I want to say about commitment, I'm in this group, in this book club with Alicia Tells, which is another rock star. She's amazing and very, very inspiring woman. She created this book club called Level Up. Many of us, we all met on LinkedIn and we are joining the book club. Last month, we read a book about money blocks and manifestation. And it was really amazing to work through that. And this month, the book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I decided not to join the group reading of this book because I already know the concepts and I've been applying them. At the moment, I have so much that needs my attention and stuff that is quite exciting, things that I need to make decisions. So I decided it's not the right time for me to join the group reading, but I wanted to share the concepts that I've been applying from this book that I haven't read yet, but I know what they are about because James Clear, I've been following him before he launched the book. He has several principles that I have been applying are mainly the one that I resonated the most with is the identity-based habits. When I said in April last year that I wanted to run a marathon because I saw very cool videos and reels from the London Marathon last year as it just had finished. I want that. I want more of that. I want to be there. And I signed up after the ballot window had closed, and the only way to do it was through a charity, which it meant double the work. But I wanted it so much that I did it, and I achieved both completing the marathon within the time I estimated because I didn't have like a strict goal in mind. It was my first marathon, and I raised the money for the charity. It was not £1,900, and I raised about 2,000 by not really actually thinking I'm going to go over, but I did. Because that's what happens when you plant the seed and then things start to come back to you. So that identity-based habit building was one of the habits that I embraced the most for the marathon, but also for the kind of woman I wanted to become. And the woman I wanted to become, I started my business last year. And over this year, I've been realizing what I wanted. It was very hard to have clarity. But one principle that I remember as well, I loved and it resonated was start and the path will become clear. That's what I did. And everything is becoming much more clear. And with the identity based habit, commitment is not something that you force because when you say to yourself, or you have a dream to be, in my case, healthy, flexible, fit, agile, have fun. All these things I started to say to myself, light, ease, connection with others, strong in my body, in my mind. So I put that picture in my head of the kind of person I wanted to be. And then you start also understanding how that kind of person lives, what they do, and then it's like, it's natural for me now to stick to these habits. The way I go about life now is a completely different person to the way I used to be, let's say, a year and a half ago when I was let go of that job, which was the catalyst for this new beginning. This is what I wanted to say about commitment as well. I was immersed in a task that I'm really looking forward to doing because it's related to the project that I'm going to Barcelona for to close this deal. And so it's something that I really wanted to do, put it together properly, nicely, and I was really excited to work on that. But at some point I was getting a bit confused and I thought, well, I need a break. And I had booked a gym class and it was no effort to say, yes, you have to go because it's good for you. You know, it's going to clear your mind. You know, this is the person you are now. And it's not that I didn't want to go. I just didn't want to go at that time. There was a running club before at 12:30 and then at 1 o'clock there was this mind class. And so I said it wasn't difficult for me to say, that's it, draw the line here, you'll come back to it later with a better focus, a better mind. It will be more productive, more effective. So this is what I wanted to share in terms of commitment and everything I just rambled on for. I'm gonna see you soon. Bye.